You know, we all grew up with those colorful, clicking bricks, right? They literally define childhood imagination for so many of us. But here's something a lot of people don't realize. This massive, iconic empire came incredibly close to just crumbling into dust. Gone. This explainer, it isn't just a story about toys. No, it's an absolute masterclass in business strategy, survival, and figuring out who you really are as a brand. Okay, let's dive into this.
-$1 million. And we're not talking about a bad year or even a bad month. In 2003, Lego was losing over $1 million every single day. Just let that sink in for a second. It's the ultimate paradox, right? Parents all over the world still loved Lego. Kids were still completely obsessed with playing with them. The brand's reputation was seemingly untouched. Yet, just beneath the surface, the company was bleeding cash so fast that financial experts were literally sounding the death knell. Like, how on earth does a universally loved company find itself essentially burning $1 million a day?
Well, that is the ultimate $1 million-a-day question. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer suspense of that moment in 2003. Business experts, financial forecasters, you name it, they all genuinely believed the company was completely running out of time. They were effectively on life support. But to truly grasp the sheer magnitude of this crisis and how they ultimately turned it around, we can't just look at a spreadsheet. We actually have to rewind and understand what Lego was originally built to be.
Because to figure out how they lost their way, we really have to look at how they found it in the first place. Picture this. It's the harsh reality of the Great Depression, and this incredibly hardworking, optimistic carpenter named Ole Kirk Christiansen starts a humble little workshop making wooden toys. Then, disaster strikes. A devastating fire destroys his entire inventory. But he doesn't give up. He rebuilds. And that incredible resilience led to a total game-changer, inventing and patenting the iconic interlocking plastic bricks. This wasn't just some new toy on the shelf. It was a completely revolutionary system of imaginative play. And from there, boom, global expansion. They built factories, set up massive international supply chains, and reached kids everywhere. They became an absolute global icon specifically because they built a highly adaptable system, not just a one-off product.
And driving all of that was Ole Kirk Christiansen's founding philosophy, which he actually carved right into a wooden sign in his original workshop. Only the best is good enough. I really want to highlight this, because this uncompromising dedication to quality, that is the exact DNA that originally built the brand. It was all about focus. It was about doing one thing, creating premium, imaginative play experiences better than literally anyone else on the planet. But well, as we're about to see, when a company forgets its foundational philosophy, disaster is usually waiting right around the corner.
So here is where things take a pretty dark turn. Lego started out with this crystal clear core identity, right? Plastic bricks and imaginative play. Simple. But by the early 2000s, they had morphed into this massive, bloated lifestyle brand. I mean, they were running their own theme parks, launching clothing lines, producing their own video games in-house, because, who doesn't want Lego-branded socks? But actually, scratch that, it was a terrible idea. They stopped being a focused toy company and tried to become this sprawling lifestyle empire. And it was exactly this strategic chaos, this massive, unmanageable bloat that directly fueled their financial crisis.
Let's break down the actual anatomy of this collapse. The really painful symptoms basically fell into two buckets. Internally, managing those theme parks and thousands of distinct product lines drove their operating costs absolutely sky high. And at the same time, leadership was really struggling to maintain any sort of cohesive vision amid all this crazy operational complexity. Then, externally, they were facing a brand new, aggressive threat, the rapid rise of digital entertainment and video games. Suddenly, they were competing fiercely for children's attention like never before. So, you combine this internal growth without strategy with fierce external digital competition, and you get a perfect storm. The result? That incredibly weak financial performance bleeding $1 million a day.
So by 2003, it was blindingly obvious that their current path was a complete dead end. The company had to change, or it was going to die. Full stop. And this brings us to the turning point. The arrival of a new, incredibly calm, and hyper-strategic leadership team. These new executives stepping into the boardroom, they weren't there to just maintain the status quo or gently course-correct. No, they were brought in to perform emergency corporate surgery. They had to make incredibly difficult, painful decisions to save the core of what Ole Kirk Christiansen had built all those years ago.
So what did they actually do? Well, they executed a pretty ruthless recovery plan. Step 1, stop the bleeding. They made the tough call to shut down factories to drastically slash those sky-high operating costs. Next, they faced a really hard truth and basically said, look, we are a toy maker, not a theme park operator. So they aggressively sold off non-core assets, which actually included giving up control of the beloved Legoland parks. With that heavy bloat finally gone, they simplified the product range. They literally cut the number of unique brick shapes in half just to streamline their entire supply chain. And then, perhaps the most important move of the whole shebang, they went back to their roots. They started actively listening to their most passionate customers again and refocused all their energy entirely on that core interlocking brick.
And this brilliantly illustrates the results of that massive refocus. Once they stripped away all the bloat, they actually had the breathing room to innovate properly. They ended up building this huge comeback on just a few key pillars. First, they leaned heavily into strategic licensing, think Lego Star Wars, which was just an immediate massive hit. They also revitalized their core themes with Lego City and Lego Friends. Then they launched Lego Ideas, which was a genius move, crowdsourcing incredible designs directly from their community. And notice their new approach to movies and video games. They didn't abandon them. Instead, they partnered with expert studios rather than trying to make them all in-house. This ensured that these media extensions did exactly what they were supposed to do, drive people right back to the physical bricks. This perfectly synchronized ecosystem rebuilt their trust, restored profitability, and kicked off an era of absolutely unprecedented growth. So, the crucial point is, what can we actually take away from this incredible turnaround? Well, there are 4 golden business lessons here for all of us. First, stay focused. Don't ever lose sight of what made you great in the first place. Second, listen to your customers because, honestly, they often know what your brand should be better than you do. Third, innovation should always strengthen your core business, not distract from it. Remember, when Lego made movies, those movies sold more bricks. And fourth, growth without strategy creates immense risk. Expanding into clothing lines and theme parks, sure, it was growth, but it was unstrategic, risky growth that almost killed the entire company.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. Behind every successful company is a messy story of unexpected failures, bold decisions, and the courage to just begin again. So whether you're running a massive global corporation, starting up a new side hustle, or just managing your daily projects, ask yourself, will your next bold decision strengthen your core, or will it just create risky bloat? Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible business origin story. Keep learning, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next explainer.